Hey, what is it, be sexy beast? GhostSickness Tristan here. Now, today I'm going to talk about two very awesome things. I'm going to talk about my Borrasca theory and end with why I love Borrasca as a scary story. I can do this for more scary stories if you guys want to. Go ahead and smash that like button. Let's see if we can hit 500 likes because it's been a week since Borrasca ended. And you guys, this video took me hours to make and it's going to be absolutely fire. I really hope you do enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy it too because, oh my god, this shit I have for you guys in this story. So today I'm going to be talking about my Borrasca theory and then why I absolutely love this story after I've proven all my points. If you have not seen this story, this video is going to spoil absolutely everything about the whole fucking story, all parts 1 through 10, and I will link part 1 in the description below as well as the playlist. Let's say you've seen through part 6, then go to the playlist, start from part 7 on, and watch 7 through 10. There's 10 parts. They're about 15 minutes each, you guys. It is a fucking fantastic story, and once I can upload videos longer than 15 minutes, then I will upload this entire story in one scary story video to make it easier on you guys. So yeah, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, guys. I'm going to get right into it. So I'm going to start with summarizing the entire fucking story. Now you can summarize the entire fucking story in one sentence, and that one sentence is this: because the truth is worse than monsters or men. Absolutely 100% true. Fucking crazy story, man. I'm going to get right into summarizing the whole story. So, starts off, there's this family, they moved to Drisking, which is some fucking mining town in the middle of buckshit nowhere. Then, this guy named Sam, who's the main character, meets Kyle and Kimber, and then they become best friends. Now, both Kyle and Kimber are gingers. I will get to that later. Now, it lays the foundation for the triple tree. Now, the triple tree, again, is something very, very important in the storyline. Now, Whitney goes, air quotes, missing, and air quotes missing for a very valid reason I'll get to later. Now, 7 years pass by. Then they go to visit Thomas Prescott, which is kind of like this older guy. He's kind of, used to be in charge of everything that happened at the town, to understand more about the missing girls and what's going on in Borrasca. So in this town called Drisking, right, a lot of people go missing, right? People go missing all the fucking time, and, girls mostly. But, yeah, so people go missing all the time. It's really weird. Nobody really knows why. There's these, random screeching noises that kind of echo throughout the town and everything like that. And there's one sandwich shop that they keep open is, super dead all the time, and nobody knows why. But, obviously, you guys will know why if you've read the story. So, yeah, anyway, so that happens. Then Kimber's mom ends up killing herself. Now, I'll get into why she killed herself later, but she ends up taking her own life, and then she leaves this note. And then now they let this note, and Kimber was trying to find it, right? So then they end up having this crazy plan at the funeral, and Kimber goes missing, actually because she found the note, because anybody who knows about this shit, gets taken. And so I'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, so she finds the note and ends up getting kidnapped. So right after she finds the note. Now Kyle and Sam go fucking crazy trying to find her. They lose their shit. They lose absolutely everything. Sam basically quits his job, and Kyle and him, go out and try to do everything in their power to find Kimber as soon as possible, because they know something's up. They know something happened to her, and they're just praying that she's not dead. So they end up finding Borrasca. Now inside they see tons of girls chained up to beds. Now these girls get raped, and only to produce babies for the infertile town of Drisking, and also for the black market. So they do sell some of these babies. Now if you guys didn't notice, when they first entered the that building, they were talking about kind of what's in there. There was top ramen, and they mentioned bottled water. So yes, the men and women in this kind of facility drink bottled water so that they stay fertile, because the reason that they're infertile is that the iron ore leaked into the town's water table and makes them infertile. So these guys and girls in this place drink bottled water so that they can stay fertile. I don't know that it affects the men, but it might. So yeah, anyway, they do stay fertile in that, because women have a really tough time having babies like Mira, and it ends up ruining their lives because they still want kids and everything like that. And that's kind of how this whole thing came to be about. So anyway, yeah, they find this and everything like that. Then they find Jimmy Prescott raping a girl named Christy. Now, if you didn't know this, I'll get into this later, but Christy is one of Clary's babies. Yeah, so he was raping, Christy instead of his own baby, which I'll get to that. Jesus fucking Christ, man, this story's fucking crazy. I really hope I can do this in one 15-minute video, because there's just so much I have to say about this story. So then they find Kimber and then Whitney. Now, Kimber escapes in the truck. Kyle gets caught by Clary and beaten to a fucking pulp by Prescott. He nearly gets killed, man. He nearly dies. And Sam is allowed to leave with almost dead Kyle. and himself. So they had to leave Whitney behind. Now, Sam is blamed for attacking Kyle by Officer Clary and Prescott, and his dad believes it. So he runs away. Then he visits Vegetable Kyle a couple weeks later when he gets, air quotes, better, and then flees the city for about 4 years. So 4 years go by when he was living in Chicago having some drug-fueled fucking craziness after all this shit he found out, which, yeah, you can't fucking blame him for this, right? So he stops by his home, and he saw that he received a letter from California. Now, this letter was from Kimber, and it fucking fucks you, okay? This story, left me just speechless, man. It was, again, the craziest thing I've ever read, and I know it's not true, but still, it's ridiculous. So he finds this letter from Kimber's mom that she forwarded on to him to kind of tell him a couple years later. So she's still alive and well, probably in California or something like that, far, far away from this city. And it unveils a lot about the story as a whole. Now, my very first theory is, if you guys have seen the ending, you know that from the mom's note, there's this. So I'm going to read this for you. And the Prescotts, they solved the problem that no one could solve. And in this, they're talking about the fertility issues. It was an ugly, crass solution, but most people were happy to look away when they were able to raise families again. You see, they took girls, mostly women from other places, ergo, so that they would be fertile, and they impregnated them and gave us their babies. Now, the Prescotts and the sheriff are the ones who impregnate the girls, and the children are named after them. Again, not very original with these names, but P children are for the Prescotts and K children are for the sheriff. Even though his name is spelled Clery, it's probably just easier to name them that way. Their name scheme, again, is not very original, but think about this. I had met the youngest Landy several times before and found out that he was unlike his older brother in looks as well as in disposition. Where Kyle was a wild, excitable fireball with hair to match, calling him a ginger, I found Parker to be an anxious, fidgety boy with small eyes and dark brown hair. Okay, so if you guys didn't realize by the names already, Kyle and Parker, again, a K name and a P name. So Kyle is Clary's son and Parker is, the son of Prescott. So they're not even fucking related, okay? That blew my mind. That was crazy when someone pointed that out. I was like, oh shit. It's something you just look over the entire story, only that when reading this letter, but it's so much to process at the end that you kind of skip over this again. That's why Kyle is so different from his father. Anyway, so as they were getting ready for the funeral, this is why this shows that, Parker and Kyle were so fucking different. So I picked Kyle up at 9 and saw he was also wearing a suit of his dad's, though it didn't fit him nearly as well, and he was constantly pulling at the sleeves and readjusting the waistline. Unfortunately for Kyle, he was much smaller than his dad, because again, that wasn't his dad. That was basically an adopted dad, completely unrelated to him. So not only that, but Kyle and Kimber's dating was incestuous, and this is why the mom killed herself, guys. This shit's fucking crazy. Again, like I said, so Kyle and Kimber, again, are both Clary's kids, so they'd be half brothers and half sisters, unless they ironically came from the same girl, but I don't think they did because they're about the same age, so I believe they came from different girls. But anyway, they're half brother and half sister. Now, read this, guys. Doesn't her mom hate you? I asked, taking my turn with the bull. Yeah, I mean, that's a fairly new development, ever since Kimber and I started dating, but I'm pretty sure she's always hated me and just hid it better before, now that she's all depressed or whatever and doesn't give a shit. So yeah, actually, the mom was so fucking fed up that Kyle and Kimber were dating that she literally took her own life because she couldn't live with this reality of Borrasca anymore, that she had adopted Kyle, and that she had adopted Kimber, and Kyle got adopted by some other family, and she knew that they were related because of their names, and that they were dating and everything like that. Now, throughout the story, you'll notice that Kyle is very protective over Kimber because he's like a brother to her, because he's literally her fucking brother. That's just ridiculous, okay? And they're both gingers again, so that's worth mentioning. Yeah, so they're both Clary's kids, and the mom couldn't live with the situation any longer. Now, I know you guys probably realized most of what I just said throughout the original story, but today I'm going to talk about the Whitney theory. Now, this is a theory that I pretty much came up with, some of my subscribers as well as the people in the comment section of the video came up with, and it's really fucking good. So if K kids are named after Clary and P kids are named after Prescott, then what about Sam? Well, I believe Sam is actually the true son of Mr. Walker, and it's described when he's talking about the suit, and again, this is emulated when he was emphasizing about Kyle not being able to fit in the same suit. So he was talking about this, since my dad and I had not only the same face, but the same build, as well as finding something suitable to wear was easy. So yeah, so guys, they had the same build and the same everything like that because he was related to his dad. So he is his dad's son, obviously, which is a very good thing. Now, they're indrisking for one reason and one reason only. Now, that reason, I believe, because again, there's not really much evidence to tell you exactly. The story never fully lays it out why exactly they're indrisking, but it does say this. I secretly blamed my dad as well. I had heard the whispers too. My dad had done something wrong, something bad, and the sheriff's department had reassigned him to some little out-of-the-way county to save face. My parents didn't want me to know that, but I did. So what I honestly believe was that Sam's dad was caught working with the human traffickers, and in order to avoid prison, they had to move there and sell his daughter to them. Do you not fucking believe me? Yeah, well, check this out. The mom says this in the letter. My dearest, this town has done horrible things, and all of us who live here are guilty. Read this letter and leave this place. Emphasis on all of us who live here are guilty. I believe he got caught because of this. And the sheriff, he helped him do this. She didn't clarify which sheriff she was talking about. She could have been talking about Sheriff Cleary, or she could have been talking about Sheriff Walker. However, what's really interesting to note is the fact that his own son, Sam, ended up referring to him as the sheriff a couple times before this after all this shit went down. So he's like, all right, that's enough. The sheriff slammed his hands down on the desk and stood up. He was talking about his dad in this case. Now later he does it again. The sheriff stood up from the kitchen table, looking as tired and disheveled as I felt. I promised Sammy, and I finally believed him. So yeah, literally the son is referring to him as the sheriff, and in the story, the mom also refers to him as the sheriff. So I highly, highly believe that it could have been Clary or it could have been him, but the only reason that they're there is because he got caught. Alright guys, what I'm about to say is fucking crazy, but I have evidence to back it up. So I believe that he did sell his daughter to these guys and would actually be the guy who ended up raping her to produce babies. So there's a mountain of evidence I have for this. The Triple Tree was used to trade girls as written in the letter. They arranged to sell the girls and they meet them at the tree halfway between our town and the baby mill. So yeah, that's where they would trade the girls, but also there's this. Underneath the Triple Tree, there is a man who waits for me, and should I go or should I stay, my fate is the same either way. What this means, you guys, is that basically no matter what the girls do, they're going into this and they're going to get raped and used to produce babies. So it's fucking crazy. So I also believe that people's names are carved into the tree when they're traded as well as when the kids go there. So if you guys didn't know, in the story, again, when they go to the Triple Tree, they have to do this crazy ritual and like carve their names onto the tree. And there's a shitload of names carved into this tree, all right? So I believe not only those are the names of the kids who visited there, but those are also the names of the people who are traded there. Again, that's why there's so many names there. So if you guys look at this, so shortly after Whitney disappears, they find this. And then I heard Kimber quietly say my name from where she stood at the Triple Tree. I ran over and tried to follow her eyes to confirm what I already knew was there. And then I found it, freshly carved near the top, Whitney W. So she wouldn't have fucking carved that herself, all right? Someone obviously carved that for her, and that was her dad. And here is why it's her dad, and we know this for a fact. If you guys caught this, great. If not, holy fucking shit. When I found this out, it blew my mind, okay? All right, so now using what I proved earlier, which is the name theory, Whitney is named after Walker. So that alone shows that it's his kid, and another reason shows that it's his kid, but also why the mom was so upset about it. If you guys didn't know, Sam's mom was also depressed. She was fucking pissed with everything going on. She was super upset about it. Also, it's very subtle, but Prescott revealed that it's his daughter and that he had been raping her. Because when you breed with your own family members, there's a lot of issues with using the same genetics, and so inbreds have a lot of issues. So Prescott said this. Jimmy looked down at Whitney and frowned. She's been putting out shit babies, though, and as soon as she gets this one out of her, she's got a date with a shiny gentleman. What he means by that is because it's been her dad raping her and producing kids, her inbred kids are shitty and they're not good, and so they're no longer going to use her in this, kind of trade business, and she's going to get killed, sent through the grinder. It's not because she was too old. It was because her dad doing it and not somebody else. So shortly after, she gave birth to a boy named William and then was killed afterwards. About 10 days later, they had just had a son that they named William. The whirling, twirly, shiny gentleman lit up the valley with its stench and the song of death that night. It was the last time I ever heard it. That was the time that Whitney died. Now, why I love Borrasca's story is there's a ton of foreshadowing with the names, the powder, the skinned men. Everything was laid out within the 2.5-hour story and set up before the ending. Okay, if you guys want to rewatch it, I highly, highly recommend it. It's realistic as fuck, okay? This shit is 100% possible, maybe except for the screeching from the shiny gentleman, but still, everything else, the sex trade, all sorts of this crazy shit, it is entirely possible, and that's fucking crazy to me. So it's super deep, as I've just described. I could talk about this story for hours, but I won't. Definitely go back and reread it or rewatch the stories. Again, I'll link them in the description below. The details you'll pick up on are fucking crazy. Overall, it's just a super well-written story, and actually a book by C.K. Walker. I'll link it below. It's called The Cold Thin Air Volume 2. Guys, I really hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, leave a like on it. It's fucking awesome. I'm definitely going to do one for $19.99. Stay sexy, you beasts. I'm GhostSickness. I fucking love you guys, and I'm out.